How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another GeoGuessr speedrun video. Today I'm going to be speedrunning 3 different United States maps. Of course, we're going to play the classic United States no blurry. This is the map on which all official US world records are hosted. Then I'm also going to play 2 urban-centric maps, those being Urban America and US cities population 150k plus. Those are 2 of the most popular urban US maps, and they're a lot of fun to speedrun, so hopefully we can get some fast times and maybe even some new world records. So I recorded all these speedrun attempts without live commentary, just so I could focus a bit more on the gameplay, so I'm going to play back these 3 attempts and sort of walk through my thought process as each one plays. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one, which is an Urban America. Now you can see on this leaderboard that it's pretty close at the top. Currently I have the 4th fastest time of 3:48, but first place is only 13 seconds ahead, so hopefully with this attempt I can get closer to first place or even take it for myself. Let's play this back and see if I can do it. Getting started with round number 1, we were in the center of a town. We started on McCarty Street near the intersection with Monroe. This police department said Jefferson City, which is of course the capital of the state of Missouri. So I zoomed into Jefferson City and started looking for the streets, went back to the start. Thankfully I found them pretty fast, which was lucky, so we were going to be next to that large building there. Getting into round number 2, we had the Lawrence police car right next to us. Lawrence sounded familiar. I was thinking maybe a city in Massachusetts, so I checked the license plates to make sure, and it was there. So I zoomed into Massachusetts. I found Lawrence north of Boston there, clicked on the downtown area, and started scanning for that bank. Thankfully, it showed up pretty well downtown, so that was another quick 5K for us. Getting into round 3, we started near the intersections of Main and 5th Streets. I was checking on the storefronts, ads, and billboards and things to see if I could get the name of the town. I wasn't seeing much. I think I might have missed it saying Wyoming on that sign there, but this sign next to the Holiday gas station helped me get there without that. So we had Interstate 90 business and US 14 and 87 marked there. That put me in the northeast of Wyoming, so I wasn't seeing 87 though, but I was pretty sure we were going to be in this area. Now, what I really should have done at this point was checked on the few towns that it could have been to see if the streets lined up. But I kept on looking for 87. That definitely cost me some time here. In hindsight, I definitely shouldn't have done that. But in the end, after a few more seconds of unsuccessful scanning, I started to check on the towns. So the first one I looked at was Gillette. And there were numbered streets here, but there was no main street in the town. So unfortunately, it could not have been Gillette. So after looking, I zoomed back out and decided to check the next town, of course, which was going to be Buffalo, Wyoming. So zooming into the town here, the good thing was there was a main street, but no numbered streets, so it couldn't have been here either, unfortunately. So that really only left one last town that it could have been in this area, and that was Sheridan, Wyoming. So I zoomed in. Right away I saw 5th and Main, so that was pretty lucky. Zoomed into it and clicked there. I got another 5K. Getting into the 4th round here, we were somewhere in the Gulf Coast based on the architecture and the trees. The streets we started near were St. Louis and Royal. That building with the sort of wireframe looking dome thing on top reminded me of something. I couldn't put a finger on what it was for a second, but after I thought about it for a bit, I remembered it was Mobile, Alabama, so I zoomed into the city. Looked like we were pretty close to downtown, so I clicked around there. Back at the start, we were east of the intersection of St. Louis and Royal, so I was scanning for the streets, found St. Louis pretty fast, and then I just had to find Royal, spotted it there, so we were going to be right next to that parking lot. And getting into the last round here, starting out in another southern town, went south on this street to start, made it to this church sign. I was trying to read it to see if there were any good clues, but I didn't see much, and there were no street signs at that intersection, so I went north instead. This took me more into the center of town, where I found that we were on Jefferson Street at the intersection of Washington. Now, I was also checking the sheriff's car, didn't see too many good clues there, but then I checked the water tower that was up ahead, which was absolutely huge. Ripley, Tennessee, so based on the landscape, it felt like western Tennessee. Zoomed into it and started scanning for Ripley. Thankfully, I found it pretty fast, so that was nice and painless. Zoomed into Ripley and then looked for the streets. We were just south of Jefferson and Washington, so I'd found Jefferson Street, and then based on where we were, it looked like we were next to Franklin Street. So the final time there for this one was 3 minutes 21 seconds, just about, somewhere in that ballpark at least. So that time did get me first place on this map. I was really happy with that. A solid 15 seconds ahead of first place before me. One of these days I hope I can get under 3 minutes. I think I might have been able to do it if I had gotten that Wyoming round faster, but for now I'm very happy with about a 3 minutes 20 time. Our next map up is US cities 150k plus. As the name implies, this is a map of cities with over 150,000 people each. A little bit different in urban America in that it's all big cities that you get in this map. Right now, I currently have the fastest legitimate time on this map. The 20-second time is definitely some sort of hack or a cheat. But the goal for this map is also to get a sub 3 at some point. We will see if I'm able to do it in this one. Let's play it back and see how I do. Round number 1 dropped us right here at an intersection of Broad and Fushi Streets. Not sure how to pronounce that, but this banner here said RVA, which stands for Richmond, Virginia. So I zoomed into the city here, clicked right on downtown, went back to the start, and checked on the street names, looked for them, found Broad pretty quickly. Then it was just a matter of finding the other one, found it there, and got the 5K pretty fast. Round number 2 put us in a residential area. We were at the streets of Castleman and Monte Vista, so I went south. This felt a lot like California to be based on the trees and the architecture and everything, so I just kept on moving down these streets, trying to find more information. And so I made it to this dead end here, which wasn't great. I wasn't sure what to do at this point, but then I saw this freeway down there, so I actually was able to jump to it and made it to this. And based on the fact that we were on I-5 with exit number 9, I assumed we were going to be pretty close to San Diego here. So I zoomed into it. I was looking a little bit too far north, I think, to start, but eventually I went farther south and was able to find the 54, which is what the exit showed. So it looked like we were going to be in Chula Vista, so I went into that city, found D Street, which is the road we were traveling down after making it out of the starting part. And then I had seen Monte Vista, I saw Castleman as well. Just didn't get the right intersection right away, but then I did see it, and so I just went with it right there. In round number 3, we were much more in a large city here. The fire station said Tempe Fire Station, which is in Arizona, near Phoenix, so I zoomed into downtown Tempe, and the road we were on looked sort of bendy based on the orientation, so I figured we were going to be on that one just to the west of downtown there, and saw the fire station pretty fast, which was lucky. Round number 4, we started just in an alleyway. Now, this round actually took me a good amount of time. We started on Morris Street and Hamilton, I think, just a little bit west of that intersection. We had lots of New York license plates here. I tried to check these school buses to get the name of the city, but didn't have much luck here. We were next to some sort of school right there. But I went back out onto the larger street that I'd seen, trying to get more information about what city in New York we were going to be in. I was thinking maybe like Albany or something, but I wasn't too sure. Another school bus there was not useful at all, but in the end I decided to zoom into Albany and take a look, because I figured it's not going to really hurt to look. But the road grid wasn't really looking up. I'd found a Hamilton Street, but it didn't match up really, so I wasn't too sure. I kept on moving, looking for other clues, but I was feeling a little bit lost in the city, so went back to the start and tried going a different direction down this larger boulevard street here, and went south. So I kept on going, felt like we were heading more into a central area, and so then I was just checking all these strip malls and businesses and things. Thankfully, this one right here said Yonkers Police, which was very useful. Yonkers is a city just north of New York City, so I zoomed into it there, and it still took me a while to find the streets here. It's a pretty big city, so I had to find Morris and Hamilton just as a matter of scanning for it. I wasn't sure which side of downtown we would be on either, so that made things all the more tricky. But eventually, though, I did find Morris. I think it was a little bit farther south of where I clicked. Yeah, there's Morris. So we were just in that little street there, the alleyway. For the last round, we were already behind time here, but we started out next to a really useful banner, which had the Florida flag on it and said, "Welcome Legislators," so I figured we were going to be in the state capital of Tallahassee. We were at the streets of College and Adams, so I was scanning the map for them. Took me a little bit to find it. Eventually I saw College Street, but Adams was not super well marked on the map, so I had to check all the streets and zoom in pretty far to spot Adams. But eventually, though, I did find it, so we were right at the intersection, getting us a final time of about 3 minutes and 41 seconds. I think the GeoGuessr measured time was more like 3:39. Not a bad time at all. It doesn't beat my 3:12, but the Yonkers round there definitely was really tricky, so I cannot complain about that one at all. The last map we're going to play is the classic speedrunning map, United States No Blurry. The current world record is actually under 4 minutes now, I think, and I'm currently in second place. I'll put a screenshot up of the current leaderboard right now, but I believe the first place score is under 4 minutes. In any case, let's see if I can get my first place title back and also get a sub 4 time. It's going to be really tricky, depends a lot on the seed you get, but let's go ahead and get into this and see if I made it happen here. Getting into round number 1 here, this one actually took a pretty good amount of time, at least in the scope of speedruns. We started near a little intersection, a small road turning off of ours. I went west down this road and made it to some signs pretty close, pointing out US 1 and 110 towards Kingston. This didn't really ring any bells except for that we'd probably be in New England somewhere based on that 110 highway shield. So I was thinking Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Massachusetts, something like that up there. So we had a lot of things for Kingston, Kingstown, that sort of made me think more Connecticut or Rhode Island, just based on the landscape as well, so I wasn't too sure yet still. I checked Rhode Island in the end. You can see Kingstown there on the map, and eventually I did notice it. So I found the US 1 there, and then I wasn't too sure where we'd be around this area, but I went back to the start and then tried to orient myself on which road we'd be. So we're facing slightly northeast here, which I was a little bit confused about because I found 110. I thought we were starting on 110, and it wasn't really going northeast near the US 1. But then eventually I realized we probably started on US 1, and then I found the road that definitely matched up where we started. On to round number 2, we started on another large highway here. I went over to this sign and it pointed out Sauk Center and things for Minnesota. I had heard of this town within Minnesota. It's along I-94. I found it pretty fast, and so based on where that sign was and where we were going to be slightly to the northwest of Sauk Center. So then I found 435th Avenue, so then I just had to find that on the map. Thankfully spotted it pretty fast, and so we were going to be lined up with it on the interstate. Round number 3, we started in a city at State and Grubb Streets. Based on that license plate, it looked like we were going to be in Ohio, but I wasn't too sure of which city. There are quite a few big cities in Ohio. Saw the US 62, so that confirmed that we were going to be in Ohio with those Ohio State highway shields as well. And then based on these signs here for Highway 70 and 71, that really could only put us in Columbus. So I zoomed into it. I was looking in the wrong part of the city at first, for trying to find State and Grubb Streets. Eventually I noticed that downtown was actually to our east, as you're about to see. And so that made me check a different part of the city. So I went back to the start. We were just to the east of the intersection of State and Grubb, checked down the other side of the river here, and eventually found State pretty fast, thankfully. And then I also found Grubb, and so we were on the east side. And so we were right next to that group of houses. On to round number 4. This time we were starting out in the plains somewhere. I went to our southeast to start, hoping that we'd get any kinds of signs, because we were making pretty good time. We're actually 11 seconds ahead at this point. We were coming into a town here, which was great news. The highway shields told us we were going to be in Nebraska on Nebraska 87. There was a junction with a road there. It was blurred out, annoyingly, but thankfully I was able to get it to be readable, which was US 20, so... US 20 is in the north of Nebraska. I couldn't remember exactly where at first, but I found it in the end. And then I spotted 87 as well, which put us near the town of Hay Springs. Now, I was at first clicking on the wrong road. We actually were on US 20 here and not Nebraska 87. I went into the town more, though, just to confirm the name of the town. Lost a bit of time doing that here for sure. But then I figured we would have started up there because the roads didn't look too well marked, at least on the map, but in the end it turned out to be at that intersection where I had clicked. So clicked there, got the 5K. Getting into the final round here, we had a pretty good time. It was possible to beat my personal best, but we started next to this sign for US 26 and 85. That made me think we were going to be in western Nebraska somewhere, but I wasn't exactly sure where those two roads overlapped. What I really should have done here is looked for the 85 individually and then seen where it overlapped with the 26 along its route. That would have helped me to narrow down the area, but instead I decided to head northwest down the road looking for clues, and this was not the greatest idea. As you're going to see, there was no information anywhere nearby on this road. Going northwest just took me past atop the highway signs and other small little landmarks that were not useful enough. Eventually I decided to go back to the start here. But there was just no good information here at all. So lots of these blue signs. I was hoping one of them would say something, but just no luck. So back to the start, decided to head southeast this time, hoping this way would take me to a town or an intersection or something. And still, there was just nothing here. Not enough to get to in time, at least. So I was just looking around, saw a rock shop, maybe thought the town name would be there, but it was not. Checked one more of these little blue signs to no success. And so in the end, I did decide to see where 85 was on its own and check where it overlapped with 26. Now, doing that led me to narrow down my search area to Wyoming, just over the border, near Torrington there. So I clicked on the 85, or the 26, I guess, and zoomed in, looking for those roads. We started at 36J, I think. I wasn't too sure the name of it exactly as I was playing here, so I went back to the start. It was 39J, actually, yeah. So, in the end, I did find 39J. Clicked right there, and so that was the final round. About a 506, 507 time. Definitely not my best US perfect score time at all, but still pretty good. 506 is definitely up there for me, so I was pretty happy with this one. Not a new world record or a PB or anything, but still a pretty good speedrun time. So that's going to do it for the first episode of this US speedrunning series. I'm definitely going to do more episodes of this where I speedrun different US maps and try to get PBs or world records. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below and drop a sub. I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you next time with more geography videos.